Welcome back to North of the Broad. We're joined by Jonathan Haupt here in the Pat Conroy Center for Literacy. I've never been here, so it's very exciting for me. Being a Pat Conroy fan, it's good to be with you.
Oh, thanks for being here.
So remind us, when can folks come here? What are the hours of the center?
Sure,
here,
absolutely.
Center for Literacy?
We're sitting inside what is Beaufort's top-ranked destination according to TripAdvisor for a little over a year now. So we have people come from all over the country and to some degree all over the world.
Yeah.
And we're open to the public for visitors Thursday through Sunday from noon to 4 p.m. In addition to all the cool stuff that surrounds us here, our docents give guided tours of the center, and most of those docents are people who knew Pat Conroy personally, so they're able to share their own stories in addition to the stories that our visitors inevitably want to share with us as well.
That is so cool. And I, just personally, from my experience with Pat Conroy, which is limited, I mean, admittedly it's limited, I had always heard his name, but kind of got introduced to, or maybe just the desire to read his work. I was so deeply touched by his mastery of words and phrasing. It's an experience. It really is an experience. So seeing it come to life here, things that how deeply he's touched his town, his environment is just so cool.
Absolutely. Pat had this sort of immersive way with his language, so you experience the words on the page.
You sure do.
Here in the center, we try to surround you with things from Pat's writing life, his teaching life, his reading life, so you also have that sort of immersive experience.
And to see him in different stages of his life in his photographs.
Absolutely.
And knowing sort of what age he was when he wrote certain pieces, it really just brings a new love to want to discover more about him.
Sure. A lot of what we do is educational for writers who are probably not at the point in their lives where they're writing anything close to Prince of Tides.
Sure.
So we like to remind people that Pat didn't start out writing that either. There was an arc to it. There was a progression.
Absolutely.
And that's really inspirational to writers too, to sort of see Pat's much more humble beginnings and follow him up the career path.
And to see some of the history of DeFusky.
Yes, absolutely.
To see the maiden voyage for him, so to speak.
Indeed.
So we have a night out that's coming up. Is this annual?
It
annual
is,
night out?
yeah. So this is Night on the Town here in Beaufort, which is first Friday in December. And last year here at the Conroy Center, we had an unveiling for an official portrait of Pat Conroy that was done by Susan Graber, a fantastic artist here.
Yes, oh my gosh,
Beaufort.
her work is so poignant.
Absolutely. So we wanted to do something special this year too, and we're going to host an event with a trio of poets actually, two who have connections here to Beaufort County and one who's visiting from elsewhere. So on that first Friday, starting at 5:30 here in the center, free and open to the public with wine and refreshments and all the goodies we can cram into the space.
Sure.
We're hosting Miho Keenis, who is a poet who lives on Hilton Head, and Andrew K. Clark, who used to live in the area, moved away and is now coming back for this special event we're hosting. And he's bringing with a friend who will be new to our experience here at the Conroy Center, Benjamin Cutler. So we're doing that from 5:30 to 7 on Night on the Town.
There's the experience of on paper, hearing it. What do you see happen with the writers reading their poetry?
It's a really nice way to get into it. If you're the sort of person who says, I'm just not into poetry, show up at a reading, give it a try, because it's pretty incredible to hear it live and to hear the stories behind the poems, to understand why people are choosing this way to tell a story or to evoke an emotion. It's really very special
poetry
experience.
Can sort of be like drink of water with a fire hose. It's a very condensed, super blast of emotion, with words. So to hear the cadence of it is a cool experience.
And we try to incorporate that into a lot of what we do at the center, because Pat Conroy actually started out wanting to be a poet and didn't think he was very good at it. He always described himself as a failed poet.
I'm so glad.
Yes.
I'm so
Isn't
glad.
it nice
That's a
to
great
know
failure.
there was one thing that he couldn't do? Isn't that sort of humbling? But if you read him, you see in the lyrical beauty of the language that he really was a poet in his way. He figured out a way to do it. He figured out a way to incorporate it into the writing that he did want to do.
Yes.
And we try and honor that legacy with our poetry readings.
You have such a depth of understanding. And I also want to make sure that you have the visiting writers who are also coming, the novelist who's coming, Mark Powell, who's going to be coming. I want to make sure that we have that. That's December 10th. And some other programs that you have going. So let's talk about that, but I also want to see if we have some time to talk a little bit about your background, because it's just fascinating with your Pat Conroy experience.
Sure, yeah. Mark Powell, who you mentioned, is coming
Yeah.
on Monday, December 9th. And Mark is a writer who's very dear to me and to Pat. Before I came here, before any of this, Pat and I were partners in something called Story River Books, which is a fiction imprint we created. And Mark was one of the novelists that we published. During the last 5 years of his life, when Pat didn't really need to do anything for anybody, he decided to give so generously of his time in this partnership that we had.
Because it's arduous. It's arduous.
It is. It's
Yeah.
not a small undertaking
Right.
to do what we did. And Mark published a novel with us called The Sheltering that did really well. Well, Mark now has a new novel coming out called Firebird, and he'll be coming here to Beaufort to talk about that with us, right here in the Conroy Center, Monday, December 9th, 5:30.
Yes, 9th, 5:30. Perfect. Other programs that we can look forward to? There's something coming up in March, Penn Center.
Yeah, this is a big annual event that we do called March 4th, and it's held on the anniversary of Pat Conroy's death, which could have been a day of mourning and certainly started out that way.
Celebrate it.
But we wanted
Celebrate
it to
his
be a day
life.
of learning, right?
Yeah.
To honor
Ooh.
Pat as teacher.
Yes.
So each year we go out to Penn Center, which is very close to where Pat is buried, and we have a day of learning about social justice
Doing
and
what
the
he does.
environment and literature and everything that Pat really cared about.
Yeah.
And it started out that first year with about 60 people, almost all local. And the second year was 120 people coming from 11 states. So it quickly became this destination event.
Yeah.
And that's our hope for this year as well. So we'll be holding it on Sunday, March 1st, once again out at Penn Center at Frizzell Community House. We're about to announce the schedule and open registration.
Keep
And
up with the website.
with the website,
yeah.
with the Facebook feed, our newsletter, it'll all pop up there very soon. We've been able to do a partnership on March 4th too with Beaufort High School, which is the school that Pat went to as a student for 2 years and then later taught at.
The
for 2
story
years
always
as
goes
well.
on with him, doesn't it? It always goes on.
Absolutely.
Jonathan, so good to spend some time with you. Couldn't have a better champion for the legacy of Pat Conroy. Wonderful to get to know you. Thanks so much for watching North of the Broad. I'm your host, Carrie Dillon. It's been a pleasure to fill in for Robin Zimmerman. We'll see you next time.